welcome to edition 40 of Old Killa No Filla podcast with me, Rachel Fairburn, and Kiri Pritchard-McLean. Just before we start, we'll do our usual disclaimer. This isn't hero worship. We do this podcast because we have a mutual interest in serial killers, and as long as we are doing this podcast, it stops us from writing to them in prison.
Episode 40, Richard Ramirez.
Yeah, I don't know why I was laughing my way through that disclaimer then.
I don't know, you're having quite a weird morning, aren't you?
Oh, I don't know what the fuck's going on, mate.
So I'm going to say now that I think this will be 2 episodes.
Yeah, there's a lot going on.
There's a lot going on. I don't know why we've just done that. Anyway, so yeah, Richard Ramirez. We asked you guys on Twitter to vote for which one you wanted, and you asked for him, you bloody glory hunters.
We knew they were going to... We knew.
I said that. I said don't put him in because they'll pick him, and we should save him. But no.
No, put it in, didn't I?
Yeah.
And what did they do? Bloody picked him.
Yeah, I know you guys. So yeah, this is the Nightstalker. Well, the second Nightstalker. There was an original one they never found, wasn't there?
Yeah.
Who had a similar kind of creeping around, breaking into houses, doing burglaries and rapes.
Also had the nicknames The Walk-In Killer and The Valley Intruder.
Both sound like STIs, don't they?
Yeah, Valley Intruder sounds like, who's intruded me, Valley?
Yeah, the guy you lost your virginity to. He was my Valley Intruder, if you know what I mean.
So he was responsible for 13 to 16 murders.
16 plus.
16 plus. Between 1984 and 1985, actually.
He really cracked through them.
Yeah, he really did, didn't he?
Well, there was one that they found years later, that little girl. Who was out of that bracket. But yeah, basically it was mainly in that period.
Busy guy. So he's born Ricardo Leyva Munoz Ramirez.
Very good.
Did Spanish at school, mate.
Yeah? What grade did you get?
Got a C.
Oh, that's good.
Got a C. Do you know, I might have mentioned this before. Do you know, I found out the other week Liam Gallagher's got more GCSEs than I have.
That is despicable.
I know. I was incredibly lazy at school. 2 A's and a B in English. C in Spanish, C in drama, C in business studies.
And then did you what? Fail everything else?
I didn't turn up for my maths exam. I didn't...
That's why you're so shit with money.
Okay, yeah. In fact, my phone rang before. That'll be someone wanting some. That's exactly what that was. Oh, God, fuck off. What else did I get? Yeah, I was just bone idle. Just too busy having a laugh.
The only GCSE I knew I passed was art, because they give you a grade early and then it has to be marked by an external moderator who brought everything down by an insane amount. So I went from being like, I know I've got a B. I was dog shit at art, but I tricked them into a B. To the first, because they have it in alphabetical order, so I got my GCSEs and I was like, well, at least I've got art, whatever happens I've got art, and I looked across expecting a B and it was a D, and I was like, I'm absolutely fucked. And then the rest was fine, but that's the only GCSE I failed was art.
Oh.
Well, what's a fail? I think anything below C is a fail.
Yeah, I agree. I got an unclassified in religion.
Jesus Christ. What did you do?
Exactly.
What did you renounce Satan in it? What?
I just wasn't interested. I didn't do any coursework. You couldn't get...
Why did you take it?
Compulsory. I went to a Catholic school.
So I had to take Welsh. Welsh was compulsory because I'm in a Welsh school.
Yeah, so you had to take religion. Thing with me is if I can sit and just have a laugh, I'll do that.
Yeah, well that's what RE was for, wasn't it?
Oh, not at my school.
Was it full on? Was it like, here's a list of why Islam's wrong?
It was just... Oh, we had to study other religions. We studied Judaism. It was fine. I just had no interest. I was too busy.
That's a sweeping statement for however many billion people.
It was fine.
Judaism is fine.
It was fine. I mean, what I meant was the course content. But, I don't know, as my mum said, my mum has this phrase that she says to me, my mum says, the Anthony Cooks of this world, because my mum can pinpoint my terrible, the fact that will do just piss about if I can, and I love men that make me laugh. She could pinpoint this to when I was in primary school and I came home from school and I'd done absolutely nothing, and I'd been bollocked for something, because I'd been messing about and having a laugh with Anthony Cook. And my mum said to me, Rachel, you need to stop hanging around with the Anthony Cooks of this world and concentrate on what you're doing. And to this day, she still uses that phrase.
Oh, really?
Yes, she's used it very recently, actually.
Yeah,
she said,
men who catch your eye and make you laugh.
Yep. One of the Anthony Cooks of this world.
Poor old Anthony Cook's not here to defend himself. Maybe we should beat that name, man. We're here now.
Come on, how many Anthony Cooks are there?
Anyway, fucking hell,
yeah,
God, we're already off. Jesus.
Right, it was born February 29th, 1960, in El Paso, in Texas.
Which, where he was born, his parents had just moved from an area that was in, like, a nuclear fallout. So there was loads of birth defects. And, in fact, his mum, Mercedes, she used to work spraying cars in a factory with no protective gear. So his two...
It's funny that, being called Mercedes and working in a car factory.
It's quite... Yeah, there's a joke in that. We're not going to make it.
We're not.
I think he was the youngest of 5, was he? Although I only know of Ruth and 2 brothers. But he was the first child who's sort of born without... His 2 older brothers had birth defects and then were put into special educational classes in school, where the teacher used to pick him up and drop him off and stuff. Turns out he was a pedo.
Oh.
He was fucking his brothers who had, like, let's say learning difficulties. And now Richard claimed he didn't touch him, but he was alone in the house with him on occasions, and his brothers were like, yeah, he definitely fucked him. Mm-hmm. He was like, no, I didn't. It would certainly make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
In fact, Richard Ramirez's, like, childhood is like, you know that, like, there's a perfect way to make potato dauphinoise if you follow everything to the T. This is how you make a serial killer. Mm-hmm. You live in an area where there's birth defects. He has 2 brain injuries.
Yeah, he had 2 brain injuries when he was a child. One of them was because I think it was a wardrobe fell on him, and the other one was a swing hit him.
I thought it was a dresser.
A dresser? What's a dresser?
Like a dresser?
Like a dressing table?
No, like I've got in my kitchen a Welsh dresser. You put plates on the top.
I assumed a dresser would be... a
dressing table.
A dressing table.
But that's a dressing table. A dresser is... You know, my kitchen is like a cupboard at the bottom, and then there's a upright bit where you put plates on. You can hear how well I'm doing, guys. I've got a Welsh dresser in my kitchen.
Yeah, all right. So, dresser. So then he was hit with a swing in a park, which led to him having epileptic seizures, which he had fits in school as well. Yeah,
his classmates knew that when he had a fit, you've all got to go and stand at the side of the classroom and watch while your teacher sits on him. So, like, he was never diagnosed formally with epilepsy. The doctor was just like, oh, he'll grow out of them.
Well, I imagine most of the kids had something going on in that town.
That's true, yeah.
My auntie is an epileptic, and the first time she had a fit, so I think she was a teenager, my mum and my uncle, it was because the TV was on, like, it was rolling the TV, so, you know, and it's not snowy. On a channel, snowy, yeah. And it triggered a fit, and she was having a fit, and they were like, hey, what's up with you? Kicking her.
Really?
And going, stop pissing about. Foaming at the mouth, and then they were like, oh shit, actually, we think something's like, kicking off here. And they went to get they had to go and get my grandma who was at work. And she came back, she was like, what are you doing? She's not well. Just booting her, she's lying on the floor. Incredible.
How is she these days? I feel like we need an end to that story.
Well, she's fine. Not had a fit for years.
Oh, that's good.
And can drive.
Can you just ignore them then? Like, do you grow out of them?
I think sometimes people... Yeah, I think it can be... I think you've probably always got it, but it's triggered by some things. Yeah.
So his mum really loved him and was quite supportive, and also his sister Ruth was very good to him, and later on in his life she's the one who tries to sort of pull him out of stuff. But his dad was pretty aggressive.
Yeah, his dad was worked as a policeman for a while, and he was sort of very... Was he? I think he was a drinker as well, wasn't he? It says he was very hard working, but he was prone to fits of physical abuse. But overall, it was a happy childhood.
Yeah, well, mainly thanks to his mum, but it was when he used to clash with his dad, he'd need space from the house because it was like this busy, loud, kind of aggressive house. Got these 2 brothers who are in this special educational needs class. They'd been abused. They're fucking tearaways. They teach him how to burgle houses, and it just used to get a bit much. So older Richie used to go when he needed some peace and sleep in the cemetery, which is creepy, but it could have also just been quiet. So he used to, bunk off basically and go to the cemetery. Now, So you've got all this happening. You've got fucking birth defects, you've got epilepsy, you've got head injuries, you've got an abusive father. He worked for Juarez Police, was that it?
Yep, that's right. And then he later on became a labourer on a railroad that was being built in Santa Fe.
So, and then I think someone comes into his life that is instrumental.
This person should not have been there. This is his older cousin,
Miguel,
known as Mike Ramirez. Now, he'd been in Vietnam.
A hero in Vietnam.
Really?
Yeah, he was decorated. He was a Green Beret soldier. He was a hero. He came back, unsurprisingly, with chronic PTSD. So was a bit of a live wire, bit of a character. He also came back with a shoebox.
Yeah.
This is horrific.
This is awful. Full of Polaroids of women that he'd abused while he was out in Vietnam.
Yeah, so these pictures of these Vietnamese women. So, like, at this time, Richard's only, like, 10 or... well, some say he's 10, sometimes he's 12. So he comes back, and then his cousin that he looks up to is really cool. Like, he teaches him how to stalk stuff. He's like, you want to kill things, you want them not to know that you're there. So he would teach him how to, like, sneak up on rabbits and kill them without them ever knowing that he was there, which is... So he's been trying to burgle by fucking his brothers. He's been trying to stalk by this guy. So he shows him this shoebox full of these pictures, and they're Vietnamese women that he has abducted, taken to the forest. He ties them to trees. Sorry, this is so brutal. We should have put a disclaimer at the beginning because this is a particularly grim podcast. And then he would sexually assault them and take pictures of them. And in some cases, he'd decapitate them and take a picture of himself with a head.
There was a picture that he did show Richard of him holding the severed head of a woman that he'd raped.
Fucking hell.
It's horrible, innit?
Yeah.
This guy, he smoked weed as well.
Yeah.
So his dad introducing him to cannabis when he was 10.
Same as me. Same age as me, that.
Don't like weed, mate.
I don't smoke it now, do I? I stopped when I was like 13. But it's countryside, you're bored, isn't it?
He smoked weed and he used to listen to his war stories all the time.
He thought he was really glamorous, and he couldn't see that this guy... They're like, oh God, he's a Green Beret and he's a sharpshooter, he's amazing with a gun, he can stalk. He was just like, this guy's so cool, and was sort of like, started to link, because it's about the time that he's having like, whatever, sexual awakening, and he started to link sort of violence with getting him excited. So it's just a really unhealthy mix. Mm-hmm. And it gets worse. Yeah, it gets worse.
May the 4th, 1973... Mike shot his wife Jessie in the face.
Well, apparently he couldn't get a job because of this PTSD, and she took no shit. She was like, "You got a job yet?" And she came home and starts giving him shit one day. And earlier that day, Rich had been in the fridge, and his gun was in there, and he was like, "Why is your gun in the fridge?" And he was like, "And it has to be cool so I can use it." And he was like, "Okay, well that's the musings of a sane person, isn't it?" So later on, she's kicking off in the kitchen. She brings her groceries in. He goes in the fridge. He just takes the gun out, turns around, and shoots her straight in the head in front of his 2 children and Richie.
Oh, God.
So he sees this happening. He literally sees this poor woman's fucking head get blown off. He said he remembers seeing, this is so brutal, sorry, like a dime-shaped hole in her forehead and then just blood pouring out of it. And then he turns to Richard and he goes, "Go home and say you didn't see anything."
Which he did do.
He did. He just went home and had tea. And then that night, they were having dinner and there's a phone call. And his dad's like, "Jessie's dead. Mike's killed her. We've got to go to the house and get Mike's stuff because he's being arrested." So Richard's like, "I'll come with you." And then, only he knows that he's seen it, which is just, like, such a creepy little secret for a kid to be keeping. And apparently he saw all the blood from her being shot and was really sort of excited. And he liked the idea of being able to go through her things and her not stopping him, which I think is just so wrong, isn't it?
It's horrible, isn't it?
It's really, really bleh. So he was sort of excited by that. So that is a big formative moment.
Although he did actually become slightly withdrawn from his family and peers after this as well.
Yeah.
Probably because he was just thinking about murder all the time.
Do you reckon?
If it became sullen, I don't think it was affected by.
He could just be also a teenager. Everything we're describing is like, he became withdrawn, he was sullen, he wore a hoodie.
Yeah, he was 13.
He listened to heavy metal, actually.
He moves in with his sister and her husband, who taught...
Roberto.
Her husband taught Richard how to be a peeping Tom.
I mean, he's getting, like... It's literally, he's taken night classes in how to be a creepy cunt.
Yeah, he's at cunt school.
Yeah, he's at cunt school, isn't he? Because it's like, don't worry, your brother's going to teach you how to burgle. You've got a cousin that'll take care of the raping side of things and the murder. And, you want to be a peeping Tom as well? Well, that can be an extracurricular thing you do in your own time. So Roberto takes him out at night, teaches him how to spy on women. He also starts giving him LSD. So, like, it's just, like, the most irresponsible situation to be raising a young guy in. He also started to get him into Satanism. So
I was just thinking, we were discussing this the other day. Is anyone a peeping Tom anymore? Like, is it all moved on to the internet?
Yeah, I guess you don't really get them. Because, like, you can, if you want to spy, you can just go on the internet. Are you making me yawn?
I have that effect on people.
You can just go on the internet. But I guess it's not that, is it? It's the I could be caught.
Yeah, I suppose it's that.
I'm fucking awful. I've got no curtains in my... Well, I've got one curtain in my bedroom that I never keep closed. And I didn't realise till recently, I've told this on a podcast before, that if the lights are on, you can just see into the bedroom. So I would be like, literally, I put my moisturiser on by being naked and I told you this before, haven't I?
No.
Oh, fucking hell. So, like, when I put my moisturiser on, I'm naked, and I've got quite high windowsills in my bedroom, put my leg up on my window, so, like, literally my vag is winking at the street, and I, like, rub it into my legs, swap legs, and then I was saying, I don't need curtains up. My mum was like, it's fine. She went, as long as you're not in there with the lights on. And I was like, what? And she was like, well, if the lights are on, you can see into the house. So I was like, since when is that a thing? And she was like, since forever. And I was like, oh, brilliant. I'm also opposite a primary school, so it's only a matter of time before I'm fucking shit.
There's going to be
away.
a knock on the door.
Yeah, can you please stop showing your vagina to school kids?
I think about peeping Toms. I don't know why this is from. Every time I use a public toilet, I always look up. Because I always think someone's going to be...
Well, I think that. I always think, is there a camera in the toilet? But then part of me is like, if you want to see me have a shit, fine, each to your own. If that's how you've got to do it. Someone, my ex, a mate of his dad has gone to prison because he was like a handyman or a plumber or something. And he got done for putting cameras in showers. Like teenage girls and stuff.
That's disgusting.
Like if they had a girl or a sexy mum, he'd put a camera in when he fitted it.
So weird, isn't it?
Anything like, it always freaks me out in films, even if it's a shit film where the house is bugged and someone's watching them. I'm like, ugh. The idea of being watched is terrifying.
Yeah, I don't like it. Well, yeah, like you say, why would anyone want to see you having a shower?
Yeah, it's all that, literally like, squatting down, like trying to shave those weird bits of hair in your bumhole.
Yeah, having a quick piss because you think, I'm not getting out to do that.
That's one of the best things you can do for the environment is have pissing in the shower.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh.
I piss in the shower anyway, because I read somewhere, this is gross, isn't it? Sorry, I bet this is two camps where some people like that is disgusting and some people like, I do it as well. It's, the ammonia stops you from getting, like, if you were ever likely to, like athlete's foot and stuff.
Oh.
Yeah, so it's good for you. I always piss. I've not got time to have a piss and then get in the shower. Also, if I have a piss, it means I've got to leave the piss in there while I get in the shower because I can't flush the shower because it'll lose the pressure.
Yeah, it makes sense just to pee in the shower, doesn't it?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
We're gonna get loads of fucking tweets over this.
There's
I bet no one's like, Richard Ramirez is creepy. They're all like, you're disgusting pissing in the shower.
I think it's a Louis C.K. joke because there's two kinds of people in this world: those who piss in the shower and those that say they don't.
So he gets a job at the Holiday Inn as well.
He's having violent sexual fantasies by this point. Naturally.
Yeah, because he's a teenager.
Yeah.
So he gets his job at the Holiday Inn. He starts to steal from the guests to supplement his wages. You don't want to be doing that in a Holiday Inn. You make fuck all money. No one's in a Holiday Inn because they're doing alright in life.
I stayed at a Comfort Inn in Memphis once. It was the biggest hotel room I've ever been in.
Any more to that story?
Nope. Just very reasonably priced.
Every night, part of our job is we stay in hotels quite a bit. But I love getting a hotel at the gig. The novelty hasn't worn off yet. And sometimes you'll go in the room and there'll be 3 beds. I sleep in all of them, except my mum. Yeah, absolutely. I fucking Goldilocks my way through that shit. I love it.
I'm never like, I'm one bed, mate. Pick one bed.
I also get really scared of being filmed when I'm in hotels, or that there's a dead body in there.
I got told off in a travel lodge earlier this year.
Really?
Yeah.
Were you smoking with a sock over the
No, do you know what? I wasn't actually doing anything. I was just having a laugh. Liam Gallagher's single, Wall of Glass, had come out, and I got fucking hammered after this gig. And me and mate were in this hotel room watching the video, and we must have watched it on my phone about 15 times. And the guy that worked there, the receptionist, knocked on the door because somebody complained.
What, you were watching the video too much?
But I think we must have been like chatting, but you know when you're pissed you don't realise you're chatting loud.
Yeah.
And I didn't take it very well and kicked off a bit. And the next day,
It's not like you, mate.
I know. The next day I was like, I know, actually, probably would.
Did you apologise to the guy you kicked off?
He wasn't there.
Ha!
He wasn't.
Didn't
there.
leave a note. No, funny that, innit?
Yeah. Asshole.
So he's trying to steal from guests. He realises people take their valuables out when they go, so I need to steal while they're in the rooms. So he gets himself a master key. How fucking creepy is this? So he'd let himself in while they're sleeping, and then he'd lie on the floor and wait for himself to get used to the darkness, and then he'd get up and he'd steal the things, and he wouldn't get caught because they'd be in the room at the time.
God, he's so weird.
Yeah, they'd watch women in the showers, women getting changed. Like, he's creepy, isn't he? He's like fucking really sinister. And he's also into Satanism by this point, because he was raised in like big sort of Catholic Hispanic community, so the devil is quite involved in there. In fact, at one point they thought Jesse's dad had put a curse on his dad, so they paid for a witch to get the curse lifted.
God.
So they did think that, you know, believed in all this kind of stuff.
Did you
They believed the devil had powers.
Did you read that story this week? Where horrible murder, as if there's any other kind. A woman murdered her sister because she wanted to be with her husband because they were having an affair. So she stabbed her to death. But I was reading about it and it said she also sent £5,000 to a witch doctor in Pakistan so he could murder her remotely.
What?
So like he's like, oh, I'll do it. $5,000. I can do it from here.
Yeah, I can do it from home.
Be all right. I don't have to come over. I'll do it from here.
I can do my witch doctor stuff in my pyjamas at home. It's nice. Don't even have to leave fucking out.
You got to be pretty thick to believe that is a.
I think you've got to be pretty thick
plausible.
to think that you're gonna use a witch doctor. It's gonna work. B, use murder someone, get away with it, and everything's gonna be fine.
Yeah, and
like,
just like
this doesn't strike me as a sharp mind, Rachel. So one night in this Holiday Inn, right, he sneaks into this room and he drags this woman off the bed and starts to go and rape her. And now the husband comes back, finds him and beats the fucking shit out of him. The couple were in this state visiting, so they were like, can you come back and testify for the trial? And they were like, no, we don't want to have to come back here ever again. So the charges were dropped. They were never filed because there was no one to testify, even though he was caught doing it. Mm-hmm. So at this point, he's in the 9th grade. He's still a teenager. He drops out of school. Now, Mike, from earlier, we know he shot Jesse. He got found innocent by what is it?
Insanity.
Yeah, because he was insane.
Reason of insanity.
Yeah, that's it. So in 4 years ago, he'd been put into a hospital, so hopefully make him better.
They used his combat record from the military was used as a sort of evidence that
they were like, he's a good guy, he's a war hero. But like Vietnam is like one of the most. I mean, no war is good guys, bad guys. There's grey to everything. I mean, the Nazis is pretty clean cut, but like Vietnam is one of the wars that was like, well, that's why so many people were against it. It was a fucking horrible, illegal war where they were basically people with machine guns fighting farmers for no fucking discernible reason. So like, it's weird that they'd be like, he's a hero, and like, in what situation though? In a fucking horrible one. So 4 years later, it's 1977, and Mike, this fucking his role model, is let out of prison.
Yeah, he was
let out of hospital.
Well, 4 years he'd been in, and obviously they meet back up and they start chatting about bondage and rape and all the usual things that guys chat about.
Yeah, they started talking about like, what would you do if you could do anything to women, and they talk about incredibly violent sexual fantasies. So this is like really wakening something up within Richard. He's really identifying with the devil as well. He's listening to rock music. So like this personality is being formed of, because the one word that keeps coming up, everything I've read about him, is chaos. So, like, he's raised in chaos. He has a... Rachel just checked the time on her phone. And it's just popped on and there's a picture of Liam Gallagher now staring back at me.
Leave me alone.
I think you should leave him alone,
He's
mate.
the only man who's never let me down.
You've met him once.
He's been in my life for so many years.
Yeah, that's true.
In fact,
he's reliably a dickhead for all that time.
I did... let's forget that he's got children that he doesn't bother with. Let's forget that
Really?
Let's forget
Oh,
all
I bet
that.
he's awful. He's one of those fucking first-generation Irish immigrant bad dads. That's incredibly racist.
Yes, get that cut out. We've got... I did my show last night in Manchester. My last Manchester show before I go to the greatest city on earth. And I was just getting to a bit in my show. I was like... here's a quote that I use when I feel miserable, and the quote is, I suppose I do get sad, but not for too long, because I look in the mirror and I just think, what a good looking fuck you are. And someone went, Liam Gallagher. It's like, alright, I was going to get to that. So, and like 3 times, obviously one of a very lovely podcast listener sort of chipped in, where's your archive? I had to explain to this room of people what was going on, half of whom were like, we have no idea what you're talking about.
It's so great when people who listen to podcasts come and see us, because I think you guys think we're funnier than we are, because it's a bit like, it's going to sound so mental, but you know when you watch someone who's like famous or well known doing stand up and you kind of know what their shtick is, so you're already coming with a backstory that you get, so everything's kind of funnier because you're like, oh, well, I know how Jack D or Sarah Millican or whatever is going to approach this. So I think when you guys watch us, you come with that backstory because you've had fucking 45 hours of me saying everything that's ever happened to me in my life twice or 3 times. And so it's really nice. But sometimes you'll be like, I'll say something and then I'll hear a few people snigger and I'm like, oh shit, they know the whole story to that.
They know everything.
Yeah, it's like you've all read my diaries and then come to the show.
Now, this bit isn't funny because we've got our official first murder coming up. Now, this wasn't tied in at the time with at the time of the trial and everything. This was later on that this was discovered, and this was the 10th of April, 1984. And it's 9-year-old May Lung. She was murdered in the basement of a hotel right near where Ramirez was living in California. Again, this is horrible. She'd been raped, beaten, stabbed, and hanged from a pipe.
Fucking hell! What a first murder as well.
I know.
Well, didn't they find this out in like the 2000s?
2009. Yeah, DNA was matched to him from the crime scene. There was another DNA sample at the crime scene as well that belonged to a juvenile, someone who was a juvenile at the time. And the authorities, they've not publicly identified this suspect. And they've not brought any charges due to insufficient evidence.
That's fascinating.
That's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, because there was rumours that he was doing this with someone else at some point. But, like, that means there was a kid with it. Well, he was a fucking juvenile at the time. But anyway. So, but this was pinned on him a lot later. So when the, like, Nightstalker murders begin... the first one is June 28th, 1984. So he'd been living in California for 2 years now. He breaks into 79-year-old Jeannie?
Yeah, Jeannie
Vinkau's house. So just an old dear living on her own. And then this is so brutal. He rapes her and stabs her to death. Now, apparently, the stabbing that he used on people's necks, he would put... Oh, God, this is so horrible. He'd stab either side and then cut across. And because they think that is how Mike told him that's the quickest way to kill someone.
God.
So it's the quickest way to get rid of the most amount of blood, basically. But he'd fucking hacked at her so much that she was nearly decapitated.
Jesus Christ, that's horrible.
And he got in because it was uncharacteristically humid. And she'd left a window open for a breeze, and he got in through this little open window, and her son found her body, which is just so brutal. Imagine going to visit your elderly mother and finding that. It's just horrific.
It is horrible, isn't it? Horrible. Second murder, which is March 17th, Happy St. Patrick's Day, 1985. Maria Hernandez. Is it hyphenated, that one?
No, just Maria Hernandez. So she parks up in a garage underneath her house, and then Richard steps out from behind a pillar and then points a gun at her, and she's like, oh, fuck. This is 11:30 at night, and he holds the gun up to her and shoots in the head. Now, what happens is the exact moment he does that, the garage light goes off. So he hears the bullet hit her. She falls to the ground. She doesn't make a noise. He assumes I've murdered her. But she held her hands up to her face, and she had her car keys in her hand. So it like ricocheted off the keys, which is so fucking lucky.
That is so lucky.
And it like burnt her hand and damaged her hand, but it didn't kill her. So he steps over her and then goes into her condo. Her flatmate's heard all this and is hiding behind. I think it's in the kitchen. She's like hiding behind
Dale Okaze.
Yeah,
she's 34. He goes into the kitchen and he just shoots her in the forehead.
Well, yeah, because she's like, oh fuck, he's in here. She peeks up, he sees her, and then just shoots her through the head. It's horrific.
It is horrific.
So he's going through the house burglarising it, and then Maria's like, fuck, I've got to get out of here. So she's like running across the drive, and he comes out, and she says, don't shoot, and he raises his gun at her, but for some reason he doesn't shoot her, and she just fucking runs away. And it's so weird. So she's able to give a description of a tall, gaunt guy who's sort of dark, in black clothes. He's maybe Hispanic. So they've got their first description of the Nightstalker.
Now, within an hour of all this...
Because they think it's because he didn't do a rape, and that's what it was about. It's about the sexual climax. So he's, like, unsatisfied. So he's driving around, isn't he?
Yeah, within an hour of this murder and attempted murder, he finds Sai Lian Yu, who's known as Veronica. He's shot her twice.
I love it when people go, that's a bit much, that. You're Veronica now.
Yeah,
like the most British name. I remember there's a guy in my year at school who was called Christian Kong, and that definitely, his parents owned the Chinese chippy, definitely wasn't his name, Christian, but it was, they're like, I bet stupid British people are like, what's that? How do you pronounce an X?
We had a Chinese lad, Stanley. He definitely wasn't called Stanley. What was the other Chinese...
We only had one Chinese lad in our school. Bangers diversity there for you.
I can't remember his name.
One black guy, couple of Asians because there's a hospital.
Oh.
That was it, really.
One black guy.
One black guy now, yeah. Yeah, Anthony. That's it. That's bad, isn't it? It's like the least diverse place in the world.
I would say it's bad, it's just the way it is, isn't it? I mean, it's a small place, isn't it? It's not...
Yeah, but it meant that, like, I didn't really... Because I was, like... Because I had a couple of Asian kids, so I didn't know anything. I didn't know what Eid was until I went to university, which is why people should go to university, because you learn about different places. I didn't really know anything about stuff like just other cultures at all, or religions, because everyone is white and is roughly Christian. I don't think there were any Jews even back home.
No Jews back home. Sounds like one of those like old-time history books that you get in tourist information centres. There was one...
Self-published by someone in the community.
There was one that... I used to work in a tourist information centre in Manchester, and years ago, and one of the books that we used to sell, it was like a little pamphlet, and it was called It's All Different Now, and it had been written by Monty Dobkin.
Oh, Monty, let it go, lad. Let it go.
Monty Dobkin.
So this girl, what he does is he's following her yellow Chevrolet, and she's like, what the fuck is this guy doing? Oh, she's opened her phone now, and there's another picture of Liam Gallagher as the wallpaper.
It's Liam and Noel, actually.
All right.
It's Liam and Noel.
Is that in Burnage? The houses look like Burnage houses behind.
No, I think that's actually... I mean, this must have been... This picture's circa, I'd say, 90...
Oh, God, I don't give a shit. I don't know why I've asked.
Probably about 98, 96, that, I reckon.
Rachel, can I please get back to the murders before I fucking murder you? So she's driving a yellow Chevrolet and he's following her around, and then she's like, I love it, she's got so much fucking spunk to her. She pulls over and is like, and then lets him go in front, and then chases him and is like, what the fuck are you following me? And he's like, I thought you were someone I knew. And she's like, no, you fucking didn't, you're trying to follow me. He's literally bawling him out. So he pulls over, tries to drag her out of the car through the window, but she's got a seatbelt on, and she's like giving him shit, and there's a couple on their porch who are watching all this happen. They can see it. So this is in, like, there are witnesses. He leaps over the car, gets into it, shoots her.
Oof.
She crawls away, and he shoots her again, dead, and then drives off on the car.
Horrible.
But then he's still, like, not happy. So he's like, well, I still haven't got my rocks off. Because it seems like this is all sort of perversely sexually motivated.
Mm-hmm.
So he goes to a sex worker and has sex with her that night. Because he tries to have, I think, sex with the corpse of Maria's flatmate, but can't manage it. Yeah, it's horrific. So he goes to a sex worker, has sex with her, and then plays with her feet because he's got a foot fetish, as if he wasn't creepy enough.
Foot fetish.
I mean, each to their own. If that's your thing, that's great, but there's no way anyone's going to want to fucking... What do you even do? Do you rub your dick on them?
I don't know. You're talking to me as if I know.
Well, I thought you'd have a working knowledge of something like that.
I don't know. Maybe suck toes?
Ugh.
I've quite like...
well, at least I've not got Ashley's foot. I've been pissing on my feet too much.
I quite like men with large feet.
Yeah.
I think that's quite nice.
Yeah, my fella has got really nice feet. He's got big feet, but I just think men's feet are really soft. The skin on them's really soft.
Yeah, because we're always walking around in suitable footwear.
Yeah, fucking Chinese foot binding our way around our teenage years. Buying £5 high heels that are no good for us.
I think if a man said to me now, put my toe in your mouth, I'd be like...
What, you want Ringo in your mouth?
No, I'm not doing that. Or if they said to me, go on, put that in your mouth, I'd be like...
Oh no, I wouldn't put anyone else's in... No.
Maybe if it was just clean, if it was just being cleaned.
A man asked me to send me a picture of my feet, actually.
Really?
Yeah, a comedian.
A comedian?
Yeah.
Who was it? Really?
But I think it's actually because I've got a tattoo on my foot and he wanted to see the tattoo. But that's exactly what I would say if I was a pervert as well.
I just want to see the tattoo.
Yeah, I just want to see the tattoo. I'm wanking off over the tattoo.
No, I think... Having said that, I wouldn't put someone's toe in my mouth, put other stuff in my mouth that you just think...
Yeah, actually, yeah.
That's not clean.
Yeah, a toe doesn't pump out piss and jizz, does it? Ooh, a toe. Not for me. Not in my little pink mouth. No, thank you very much.
Put that thing that you was out of.
Yeah. That thing that's close to your arsehole that sweats in a box of cotton all day. Yeah, you can put that in my mouth. Don't put your toe near me, though.
But don't bring your clean toe near me. Oh, God.
It's toenails for me. They're rank. All toenails are rank, yeah.
Horrible.
My fucking ex never used to cut his toenails. It was disgusting.
You didn't like that?
Yeah, I used to have a joke about it. He sounded like a dog on lino. But they were really bad. Like, really, I'd have to be like, can you cut your toenails, please? And he'd be like, really fight back on it. Like, that's what like it was Samson, and that's where his fucking powers were.
Now, after talking of horrible things, there's a description of Ramirez that's going around at this time, and he's described as having bulging eyes, curly hair, and rotting teeth.
That's really horrible, isn't it? It's Fred West.
It's Fred West. It's so bloody horrible, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really disgusting. So 10 days later, Vincent Zazzara is in his house watching the telly. Mm-hmm. His wife is in another room.
Yeah, he was... I don't know why I mentioned this. He was 64, his wife was 44.
Yeah, you really, when we were writing this up, you were like, oh, you're really fucking judgy. He's had his head blown off.
No, I'm not judgy. I don't give a shit. I would quite like to go out with someone older.
Would you?
Yeah.
Like really old, like...
Like Hefner old. Like...
Well, he's dead. He's not just old, he's dead, mate.
He's really old. He's dead.
So old.
That's how old he is. No, I don't give a shit about age gap things. As long as it's, not 30 and 16, because that's just weird.
What, so you go out with like Richard Branson?
That's a very specific person.
Well, I was just trying to think of someone old and wealthy.
Yeah, I'd go out with him because he's rich. I don't know, actually, would I...
You know his nickname's Dr. Yes.
What does that mean?
Where did he get that fucking qualification from? And so in his company, I can't slag him off too much because there's a vague connection, but a show I'm writing on at the moment was interviewing him, and I had to do sort of the research. He just gave us loads of information on him, and he's known at Virgin as Dr. Yes. I don't think it's an official qualification, like I say, but because he's just like, yeah, okay. He's basically just like, well, he's an entrepreneur, isn't he? So he's like, we'll just try everything, yeah. Which is why he's going to space and stuff. Fucking so funny. Frankie Boyle I just think he's an incredible comedian. He was like, Richard Branson tweeted something like, guys, we need to make active steps to protect our planet. We've only got one. We need to think about climate change. And he retweeted it when you own an airline, you mad cunt.
You mad cunt. Fair point.
Yeah, it's a fair point, innit?
Stop listen, you billionaire with an airline going to space. Stop telling me what to do.
Yeah. How old would you go?
Would I go to space?
No, fucking hell, mate.
What did you ask me?
How old would you go? You're saying you go out with an older guy? What's your cut-off point?
I say old. Probably about 15 years older. That's probably as old as it
So what's that, 50? 50?
How old's about 30? Yeah. Oh, no, actually, I've changed my mind.
Really?
No, I'm not doing it now.
Oh, right.
I don't
You said it now. You said it now.
Now I've thought about it, I don't want to do it. All right, 10 years older, that's it.
That's not really an age gap anyone talks about, is it?
10?
Nothing.
Yeah, that's it, I've changed my mind.
Right, well, that was... What a fucking rollercoaster that was.
I'm not bed bathing anyone. Forget it, it's not happening. But no, I don't give a shit if people have age gaps. Good luck to you. As long as you say... As long as, even 24 and 16's weird. Don't be doing that.
Yeah, that is creepy.
Anyway, back to this awful murder. So Vincent is watching television, and Maxine is we don't watch it. She's in the bedroom doing some stuff, and Richard Ramirez gets into the house and he shot Vincent as he's watching the television. Now his wife Maxine, she heard the murder, which is awful, and he goes to find her and he ties her up. She managed to escape the being tied up, and then God, I can't speak today. And she found a gun that was under the bed, and she fired it at him, but it wasn't loaded.
Oh yeah, it just clicked.
Yeah, and he then shot her.
Yeah, apparently this. They think this is the act of her attempting to shoot him made him fucking furious because he really went to town on her body. So he tried to carve her heart out, but couldn't get through the rib cage. So he just sort of did an upside down cross in it, and then he was so angry. This is horrible. He completely stabbed her torso and neck, but he gouged her eyes out, and then stole a jewellery box and put them in the eyes in the box.
Now the bodies were found by their son.
Fucking hell. Well, apparently he was he drove off and he had the eyes in this jewellery box, and there was a police car following him for a while, and he prayed to Satan that he would stop following him, and he did. The policeman didn't follow him anymore. So there were loads of little things happening where Richard thought that the devil was protecting him, because coincidences that he'd be like, oh, that's the devil eyes, let me off the hook, as opposed to terrible police work.
Now they actually get a what's the word? A bit of evidence from this murder, because they get his sneaker print.
Yes.
Or trainer, if you're English. I wish we called them sneakers.
No, sneakers is too creepy. Sneakers is what serial killers wear.
Like brothel creepers.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, so they found the shoe print in the flower bed by the window.
Of his Avia sneaker, his snide trainers.
Yeah, they are snide. I've literally never heard of them.
His Nicks. We had Nicks at school, they were the...
High-techs.
Gola. Actually, high tech, when I was about 20, 21, I started wearing beads, thinking I was pretty cool.
I don't think high-techs have ever come back.
They did do for a bit, they became a bit...
Well, Asics have, because they're Onitsuka Tigers, and they're cool.
Oh, yeah.
And I always thought when I saw New Balance that they were just snide Nikes.
And now
everyone's wearing them.
Huge. Yeah. And they're expensive, actually.
They are. They're
very expensive.
Now, these, what were they called? It sounds like a car insurance company. What is it?
Avia.
So these Avia shoes in 11.5, in that, there was only one pair sold in the area in that size.
Wow.
So they were like, right, we can find this cunt. But they were bought in cash, and the person doesn't remember selling them. So they were like, oh, fuck, well, all we know there is it's not a regular customer then. So they, so they knew what size shoe they wore and what type of shoe. But that was all that they had. They knew that it was a rare shoe, so basically, if it turned up at loads of different crime scenes, they'd be like, well, everyone's got those shoes. But it was turning up at crime scenes, and they knew that only one person had them in that size, so it's actually really, really useful.
Then May the 14th, 1985, Bill Doy, who was 66, and his disabled wife, Lillian, who was 56. This again, it's just bloody horrible.
Well, he watched them through the windows, and he worked out that she was disabled. So he was like, great, and then like killed. What he would normally do is kill the men first, and then do what he wanted with the women.
So he shot Bill, and he raped Lillian, and he put her in thumb cuffs as well.
He didn't need to do anything. She's fucking bedbound.
Yeah, I know. Bill died at the hospital, but Lillian survived.
Didn't he? Bill. Normally he cut the phone lines in houses, but because she was disabled, he didn't bother. But Bill was alive, and he tried to call the police. He called 911 twice that night, even though he'd been shot in the head, and then he later on died in hospital. Fucking how much must he have fought to try and get it? It's really scary, isn't it? It's so sad.
It is horrible. Horrible. Then May 29th, 1985, he stole a car and he drove to the home of Mabel Bell and Florence Lang.
Yeah, she was 81,
so it was just,
and Mabel was 84.
Couldn't read my own writing then.
They were sisters.
Yeah.
And Mabel was Florence's carer. Florence was... they use the word invalid, and I feel like that is not a good word to use.
Because the word is invalid. The word is technically invalid, isn't it? Yeah, it's not a...
So Florence was not able-bodied, shall we say. And then So he attacked Mabel, like, battered her, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And then attacked Florence as well.
And it's just some really horrible things. I don't actually think we need to go into detail. If you want to read what he did, you can do. It's really horrific. There was he drew a pentagram in lipstick
on Florence's thigh, the back, and then on the wall as well.
And they were found. This is just awful. 2 days later, they were alive, but they were comatose.
Fucking hell.
The next day, he goes to the house of Carol Kyle and her son. He tied Carol up, raped her, and he threatened to cut her eyes out. And he put his son in a wardrobe closet.
This one's like legit. This is horrific. So he breaks into this woman's house, right? And he goes in and was like, he said, who else is in the house? So she said, there's a little boy. And she was like, she worked with people with mental health problems, so she's like, right, okay, well, don't scare him, let him feel like he's in control, because he'll get more irrational if not. So he locks her and the son up at first in the cupboard while he sort of goes through the house and things. They're both handcuffed in there. Then he takes the mum out and then is asking a question. She's like, please don't kill me, I've got 2 children. And he said, where's the other one? And she says, it's my little girl. And he said, where is she? And she said, she's staying at a friend's house. And then he said, well, I might have to wait till the morning then, mightn't I? How fucking terrifying is that? And she's like, please, just don't hurt my son. So then he starts to sodomise her on the bed while the fucking kid is trapped in the cupboard in the room. And then he goes to rape her, but she goes, don't rape me, I'm on my period and I've got a disease. So he just fucks off then. Isn't that so weird that he's like, you're on your period?
Yeah, I'll gouge somebody's eyes out, I'll do all these horrific things, but...
Oh yeah, I'll sodomise you against your... Like, well, I'll bum you without your fucking permission. But how mad's that? Is like well against period sex. I'm a huge fan of it these days.
I'm squeamish, mate.
Just don't look down. It's like the Oblivion, don't look down.
I just can't get involved.
Really?
No.
Oh, it's cracking.
No, I can't get involved.
Really?
No.
Well, I had to have, as you know, Rachel, I've had a big old week. So I found out this week, so basically because of circumstances to do with my ex-partner, I had to have loads of STI tests to find out if I've got anything. And it's all come back clear, guys. If you follow me on Instagram, you'll have seen that. I put everything on there. So no chlamydia, no gonorrhea, no HIV, no syphilis, which is great. But when I was having to do all these tests, like you've got to put swabs in your mouth, and I had one for my vag, which is quite the way to spend a fucking Sunday. And you just, it's been so grim finding out all this stuff about my ex that, like, you just take the good news where you can. So you have to put, like, the swabs in these little test tubes, and then you put a sticker on them saying, like, oh, it's a vaginal swab or it's a whatever. And there was a sticker on there for rectal swab, and because he's never bummed me, I'm like, well, thank heaven for small mercies that I'm not doing a rectal swab.
Hold on, how many years are you together?
8, nearly 8.
And he never bummed you?
No. We chatted about it. I was like, if you want
You chatted?
to. Yeah, well, you do have a chat about it. Well, you don't just go straight into it.
You don't chat about it.
What?
You've just got to get it done.
I want some kind of fucking discourse before he puts his cock up my ass.
You've got to get it done soon as well.
It's virgin territory, mate.
If you're going to do it, you have to do it within the first few weeks, I think.
Are you fucking kidding
No, I'm
me?
not.
Are you kidding? I would be with a guy 3 weeks and I'd let him bum me. Are you mad?
I just think you've got to do it, and you can't sit down and discuss it. It's not a fucking holiday. You've got to do it, like...
No, there's some prep involved. Also, because I'm not going to be like, shove it up my ass if he doesn't want to. Because the chat we had, he's like, yeah, one day, but I guess I'm not really bothered. And I was like, I'm not really bothered, but if it's important to you, I'll do it.
One day.
Got to save something for the wedding day.
In my opinion...
You used to have a great joke about that, about people living really long time.
Oh, I did actually.
It's a banging joke, that.
I might bring it back.
Yeah. Well, not now. Everyone knows you can fucking shaft you after 2 weeks of drinks.
I just think that... I mean, I'm not really that bothered about it anyway.
Do you really let someone bum you after like 2-3 weeks? I think that's insane, mate.
I just don't see why that's... Is this why I have so much trouble?
Yeah. You're letting them have the golden goose too early, mate. You've got to keep them... at least you've got to make sure they're in love with you before they...
No, I think, you know, you're in this situation... If my mum's listening to this, just switch off, mum. Right now, stop listening.
She's heard all she needs to know, mate. She's raised a fucking deviant.
I think you've just got to go.
The fortnight bummer here. That would be your serial killer name.
I think you just got to go. Right, shove it up.
Why are you doing football chants before they're doing it?
Hey, shove it up. Yeah, that's right. Then,
come and put it in if you think you're hard
And
enough.
then, you know, sometimes you might go... Oh, no, actually, terrible mistake. Oh, I jumped at my own thing then. I should have frightened myself then. Sometimes you've got to go, oh, no, terrible.
That's what you do. You go, shove it in, and then you go, oh, sorry, terrible mistake. You can't do that. Go from fucking Mary Poppins to...
Yeah, but sometimes the conditions are...
Yeah, well, there's prep involved, isn't there?
I'm not... Look, I think if you can't take it like that, don't be rubbing creams and lube up your bum.
What you're saying is, if you can't be dry bummed, you don't deserve to be bummed.
Yes.
That's like the most perverse Marilyn Monroe quote.
Bit of spit.
If you can't have... Oh, my God. I really hope your mum's not listening.
My mum cannot listen.
So your dream is, after 2 weeks, for a guy to spit on his dick and then shove it in your ass. Can you hear yourself?
Well, no.
And you wonder why you've got fucking troubled relationships with men. I think fucking Liam Gallo would be scared of you with his fucking 10 O levels.
Scared of me?
Yeah, with your 3 plus. Shove it in my ass. Don't lube it up. I'm not a baby. Fucking hell. That is horrific.
Yeah, but what I mean is, like, there's other stuff going on, isn't there? So...
What? I feel like I don't know anything about sex when I talk to you.
I don't think I know what I'm doing either. I just think...
You know what you're doing? Terrifying men in the northwest area.
I just think... Just get on with it. If you're going to do it, just do it.
I mean, I know what you mean about it's like ripping the plaster off, but... No.
I'm not really into it, to be honest.
Oh my God! I'm not surprised. I'm not really into it. Well, if you insist on, like, being, like, no prep, no lube, and after 2 weeks, I'm not surprised that you're not partial to it. Just Jesus Christ.
It's not really my bag.
You know what? We've been going an hour. We're gonna finish that there.
Never forget your first bumming. Right.
Do you know what? No one will ever forget theirs with yours, because I remember what happened. She screamed at me to shove it in my ass. She said I couldn't use lube. She made me spit on it, and then about 3 thrusts later, she went, "I've made a terrible mistake, and now I can't form long-term relationships with women."
No, that's
Jesus Christ.
It's not like that.
You've put me off it. And I was fairly open to the idea.
To be honest with you, it's not worth the hassle.
Doesn't sound like there's any hassle, mate.
It's not worth the hassle. It's undignified.
It is the way you do it. Jesus Christ.
Oh, why are we talking about
You make
this?
pornographies look positively romantic. Jesus. Right, okay, that's enough. I need to have a think about whether we're still going to be friends.
There is
Right, so this has been, it looks like part 1 of Richard Ramirez. We're going to record it. We're going to record the second one straight away. Mm-hmm. And we'll probably put a little break before putting them out, just so it feels like we're being more proactive. Very quickly, at the end, I'm going on tour. Is that gross to say?
Oh, sorry, I've just been sick. No,
what did you remember all the times you got fucking dry bums, did you? Jesus Christ. I'm going on tour next year, so if you want to know about that, I'm doing Soho Theatre and doing a run of my show. It'd be lovely to see you there. I'm also going on tour. You can see that on my website, on my Facebook page.
Ooh.
I know, yeah. Also, yeah, can you subscribe to the podcast? I think it helps people find us if you subscribe to it.
All right.
And give us a nice review. That would be lovely. Because, here you go. Here's how it works, guys. Basically, the more people we can get to subscribe to it, just at this bit here now, the more likely we are to be able to go to America. So if you're in America and you want us to come, subscribe and tell someone about the podcast.
Yes, do that.
That sound fair?
Yep.
All right, okay, we'll see you in a bit.
Thank you.